What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I'm your host for today, Simon Villanos, aka Coach V, and we got another interview, but unlike the ones we've had in the past with players and whatnot, this one is our newest member on the podcast. And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, man?
Hey everyone, my name is Gino Vigil, and me and Simon met through work in Colorado Springs. I'm from Aurora, Colorado. I played baseball at Grandview. I didn't play football, but I paid pretty close attention. Just have gotten like a good taste of the overall landscape of Colorado high school football, especially in the Centennial League. And I'm really excited. It's been really cool. Just kind of getting my feet wet in Colorado high school football. There's a lot to be excited about this year.
Oh yeah, man, there is, and I know we got some big fans out in the Centennial League, so I think this is going to be a great addition here, man. And we're happy to have you on. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm really looking forward to going out and seeing the games in person. And yeah, just everything about the podcast has got me like super excited on the season, just because you guys do such a great job putting a spotlight on all sorts of players, teams, and I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, man, and we're happy to have you. Well, with that being said here, let's go ahead and get into this introduction. So, Gino, we ask every single guest these two questions, whether it's five-star recruits, players, coaches, Gideon as well. Make sure you check out his episode that should be dropping at the same time this one will be. But, let's start with the first question, right? So let's start with, your athlete days, your athletic days. What was your favorite memory as an athlete? And this could really be any sport. Like you said, you brought up baseball. I know Gideon's favorite sports memory as an athlete was a baseball one as well. But, what's your favorite sports memory as an athlete?
There's a lot of them. I think I'd have to go with at Grandview for baseball. Our first game of the season would be played at Coors Field. And my junior year, we lost a lot of seniors the year before, and we lost my junior year just because we lost a lot of seniors. We were pretty unexperienced. And then coming in the next year, our senior year at Coors Field, and coming back, and then we ended up winning that year. So just going out on a high note, just because that Coors Field game is so important to us, and it's so much fun, and just being able to play in that environment was really special. There's tons of fans there, and with baseball, you don't really get a ton of fans there unless it's playoffs or like a rivalry game. So just to experience that was really cool.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's really interesting, and that's dope to be playing at Coors Field like that. No, that sounds big time. So
yeah,
definitely
awesome.
love that. Sorry, what was that?
Oh, it was really cool. It was like they only filled out, because there's so many seats there. They only did the seats behind home plate, but it was still a couple hundred people there. It was really dope.
I mean, that's never a bad thing, though. I definitely get that. And that's interesting that you brought up that memory, because Gideon, his favorite memory was, a game from his senior year as well. And in that game, he definitely got hit in the head by the pitcher like 3 times. And the ump didn't do anything about it, or at least, at the third time he did, but the first 2 he definitely didn't. So, yeah, but that was his favorite memory. I just felt like I needed to bring that up, but
that's insane.
It happens, right? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe the pitcher had the yips that day, or maybe Gideon was talking some smack. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows, right? But
who knows?
Let's move on here. So, okay, now the second part of this question, or these intro questions, is, what's your favorite memory as a sports fan? I know, obviously you're from Colorado, but, from personally knowing you, you're a big Wisconsin guy, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Yep. So that's another thing. I'm a big Packer fan, Bucks fan, Brewers, Badgers, all that. And probably my most profound sports memory I have was I think it's 2007. It was the Broncos Packers were playing, and the Packers only come here I think it's every like 7 or 8 years, and it went to overtime. And Brett Favre, the first play of overtime, just hit Greg Jennings for an 80-yard deep ball, and just to win the game, literally on the first play of overtime. And I can just remember just how loud it was. We were at Mile High, so we were the away fans, but it was still so loud. There were so many Packers fans there, just high-fiving everyone. It was so crazy.
Dang, that's a little bit of a deep dive there. I feel like everyone else, I guess it's because we live in Colorado and we interview a lot of those guys, but everyone else has a lot more recent memories. I like that though. I mean, that's big time though, right? I mean, how many times is that ever going to happen as an away team, you know?
Exactly. And it was nuts. You know, it was just the fact that I was there. You know, if I watched it on TV, it'd be a little different. But, you know, because I watched the Bucks win the championship in 2021. That was awesome, especially watching it with my grandpa. We hadn't experienced a Bucks championship together, so that was pretty cool. But just the fact I was in the stadium when it happened, first play of overtime, Brett Favre's last year on the Packers, yeah, it was pretty special. I was glad I was there. It's cool.
Oh, yeah. No, you can't go wrong with that. Now, before we move on here, I do got to ask you, man, how do you feel about Aaron Rodgers and how do you feel about Jordan Love going into this next season?
Hey, man. J Love was drafted where he was for a reason. It was horrible timing, but I'm super excited with how young the Packers team is. We haven't really experienced anything like this in a long time. Like, I think our oldest receiver is only 24. So just the growth that's going to happen. I'm expecting like 5 or 6 wins, to be honest, but it'll still be fun. And then as far as Rodgers goes, I saw he just took a huge pay cut with the Jets. That was kind of a dagger, but but it is what it is, man. Rodgers is still my favorite player of all time. Too many good memories watching him play to have too much hate for him, you know. And at least we got the one Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's a Super Bowl, so I got you.
I got empty-handed.
yeah, you know, and yeah, I mean, you made the playoffs a ton too, so it could be worse. You know, you could be the Broncos, so
it'd be a lot worse.
Yeah, so there you go. There, that might not be a popular comment, but who cares? Let's go ahead and get into the rest of this thing here, man. All right, so this will be your first season with us, so let's let me kind of frame it here before we get started. It will be your first season with us. As of right now, you are kind of based in the Springs, but you'll be going up to Aurora, you know, a lot because I know you have some family there. So we'll be using you a lot here, I would imagine, for the 5A, 4A level and covering a lot of teams between the Springs and Denver, you know, just depending on the week, right? And obviously we'll work with you on that, but you already knew that. I'm just, you know, speaking to the fans about all of that. So yeah, you'll be able to cover some big time teams here. And you know how we got Colorado split up here. Gideon, he has the North. Cody, he's kind of that Denver metro area guy to, you know, northern Colorado. So it's definitely going to help him a lot having you go up to games there as well. And then I got mostly southern stuff here, but obviously it's going to help us out a lot having you here as well. So definitely excited to have you here on the team here. Let's kind of just hop into this thing, man. So by now, by the time this episode drops here, which should be August 25th, which is week 1, week 0 would have happened already. So there you go there. But our power rankings as a podcast would have already dropped. And there's 4 of us here. So it's myself, Cody, Gideon, and you, Gino. So there's that. And basically, we each have our individual rankings, and then we average it out from there. And so where some teams may lie really depends on where the four of us put them there. So that's kind of how this thing's going to work. And on Gideon's episode where we interviewed him, he kind of gave us a look into his power rankings. On this episode, Gino, we're going to talk about your power rankings and just kind of see where your mindset is going into the regular season here and whatnot. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds great. Let's get into it.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and start on the 5A level. I think that'll be the most fun one here. I'm just going to go ahead and list off your team. So right here at number 1, and by the way, preseason rankings, so just keep that in mind, listeners. But at number 1, we have Cherry Creek. Number 2 is Ralston Valley. 3 is Valor. 4, Columbine. 5, Pine Creek. 6, Fountain Fort Carson. 7 is Legacy. 8, Mountain Vista. 9, Legend. And then 10, we have Chatfield right there to round out this top 10 here. Let's go ahead and start at the top here. Let's talk about Cherry Creek Valor. So I think last year was the 3rd or 5th time in a row they met in the state championship. And it was also like the 3rd or 4th time that Cherry Creek won a state championship. I just want to ask, how come you have Cherry Creek here? Obviously, we know about their success, but what's your reason for putting Cherry Creek at 1 here? And then you can talk about Valor here later at 3 currently.
Yeah, so Creek, it really just boils down to sustained success. Like you said, multiple consecutive state championship appearances in a row, wins. Like they have coach, they have the recruit, like players coming in every single year. They got guys to replace the guys that graduate. Yeah, you're always going to see Cherry Creek up there. And then as far as Valor goes, I put them at 3, and they easily could be 2, but personally I like Ralston Valley a ton. But yeah, when it comes down to 3 or 2, you could really swap them. But I think Cherry Creek is a firm 1. They have a lot of guys returning on defense, and this is like as far as like talent goes, I think Creek is really the cream of the crop. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, until they get beat in state, right, which is the important thing, not just in the regular season. Until they get beat, they're kind of undisputed, right?
That's exactly the way I see it. It would be like I don't feel right putting anyone else at 1 until like someone could dethrone them. But like I said, I think Ralston Valley has a very, very nice shot to do that this year. I do think so.
Fair enough. Well, let's talk about Ralston here a little bit. What was the thing about Ralston that really kind of put you over the edge? Obviously, last season, they did lose to Valor in the semis in a crazy double overtime game.
Yes, yes.
Which, I think obviously factors into this. But, why do you got Ralston here just edged over Valor Christian?
And, it might look strange because 2 of their losses were to Valor, so you could look at that. But I don't know. The way I see it, Logan Madden returning, he first team. So when I say first team All State, I'm really just talking about like Chassa, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, so Logan Madden, first team All State as a junior. He has a whole off season to get ready for this year. I'm really excited for that. And then you got Brady Weldon. He put up 7 yards a carry in limited action last season. So I don't think they're really gonna miss a step there. And they have really good wins against Columbine twice, which I think is like something you really got to pay attention to there. Wins against Grandview, Regis, and Chatfield twice. I think they're just a tough team, high-powered offense. And if anyone's going to be able to pick apart that Creek defense, I really think Ralston Valley should be in the conversation.
Yeah, no, I like that. And we actually got to see Logan Madden, throw the ball a little bit at that 7v7 event we were at. Yep. So, and he looked good. We both said that. I mean, everyone was saying that, right? But he looked really good there, and he's probably one of the best quarterbacks. Yeah, I'd say one of the best quarterbacks in the state of Colorado. I don't want to say the best, but he's definitely up there. So, you got to have some faith in him. So I definitely get that. All right, well, let's kind of go down the line here. So after those top three, which I feel like no matter, whether it's myself, Gideon, you, Cody, Cherry Creek, Ralston, Valor, that's probably going to make up some sort of our top three there. So there you go there. But after that, that's kind of where things definitely get interesting, because it's not like these teams are out of the question when it comes to contending, but, we just need to see a little bit more. And so the next three after that is Columbine, Pine Creek, Fountain, Fort Carson. Why don't you go ahead and speak on those three teams grouped up there at 4, 5, and 6 here?
Well, we know Columbine. They're gonna run the ball. They're gonna run it down your throat, and they're just one of the toughest defenses in the state, if not the. So, they only had 2 losses last year, both to one team. So it's like, they have a lot to be excited about there. They got a few guys returning, like Josh Snyder. He's gonna have the bulk of the carries next year, which is gonna be pretty exciting. But yeah, I like Columbine a lot. I think their ceiling, I think they do have a lower ceiling than the other top 3 teams. That's why they're at 4. Pine Creek and Fountain Fort Carson, 2 Colorado Springs teams. Pine Creek, they got, it's, they like moving up. I thought they were going to take a bit of a step back moving up to 5A, but they've just been so good and consistent. Like Mason Miller, he's going into his senior year. Coach's son, stud, all state. He's going to play a huge part into what they do. So I don't think their offense is going to be much worse at all. It's probably better even. And then, Cooper, he's a sophomore starter last year, Cameron Cooper. Now he's going to be a junior, another off season. It's going to be a high powered offense for Pine Creek. I'm really excited to see what they can do. Really want to go see some of their games. Colorado Springs for sure. And Fountain Fort Carson, 8-4 last year, which is great. But I'm really excited to see what they do next year. They had some really big wins on Regis, Eagle Crest, and they had some dominant wins too, like some shutouts against Doherty. Doherty's I think they're one of my sleeper teams next year. I think they got a really solid squad. Pomona struggled last year, but again, like any sort of shutout in 5A, I think that has to be highlighted. But
fair enough.
I really like Fountain Fort Carson going into next year. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Pine Creek, Fountain Fort Carson, 2 teams that will be really interesting moving forward. We'll definitely go to a couple of those games. I feel like both teams are built kind of similarly. Obviously, I also have Pine Creek over Fountain Fort Carson, though, because I like their defense a little bit better. But definitely 2 teams who should be up here as well. And definitely get Columbine. We know what to expect from them. They're for sure going to make the playoffs here. How they do after that, we'll just have to see, They won't be a round 1. They won't go out round 1, right? We could definitely agree on that, right?
Absolutely. But like I said, that offense, running the ball, a good team like Creek is going to stack the box, and it's going to be really hard for Columbine to move the ball. And like I said, I think their ceiling is just a bit lower than Creek, Ralston Valley, or Valor. But they could definitely prove me wrong. I hope they do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we'll just have to see what happens there. Fountain Fort Carson, I just want to say this one last thing here. I like them a lot. I know they got a beast in Matthias Price. They're 6'2", 220-pound running back, which, nowadays you don't see too many of those guys. You got a lot of guys playing receiver and whatnot, which is fine, but he's great. Khalid Smith over there, I believe he just broke I want to say it's the deadlifting record, and he's only 5'10"-ish, wow. 200 to 210. So even though he's more of the speedy back, he has some power to him too, plus a great line led by Lincoln Falapali, their left tackle, 3-star over there, who's great. So lot to be excited about here for sure.
Yeah, and on defense too, they got Trevor Coleman Anthony Johnson Griffin, like both those guys combined for eight sacks last year. So I think they're gonna have a lot of talent. They'll be putting up a good fight next year. I'm excited to see them.
Yes, no, for sure. That is definitely a team that we are trying to make multiple games. So there you go. Now to kind of round off here, let's just kind of summarize these teams here. Legacy, Mountain Vista, Legend, Chatfield. Why don't you go ahead and talk about these teams real quick before we move on to 4A?
Yeah. So Legacy is just a team. I look at their games last year. I was just really impressed. Like 35 points in 8 straight games leading up to that Pine Creek game. They also gave up 14 or less in the 6 straight games leading up to that Pine Creek game. They just a really exciting team. And then they got some main contributors on offense coming back, like Colin Lerma, Tyler Anderson, Tyler Madden. Defense has got a couple guys coming back, Amari Bursey, Kylan Studbaker, both for their senior seasons, undefeated in league. Yeah, I think Legacy is gonna really shake things up next year. I think people are gonna be pretty surprised at what they do. And then Mountain Vista, I could have put them above Legacy. I could have, just because Austin Moderzewski, like he as a sophomore.
Modreski. It was close, yeah. We all got practice, so I got you, but it's Austin Modreski. No worries though.
Yeah. Austin Modreski, 35 total TDs as a sophomore, second in the state in pass yards. 12 picks, but I mean, as a sophomore starter, I expect that to go down to like 6 next year, maybe even less. And then, his top 3 receivers were 2 sophomores and a freshman on top of that. So that offense at Mountain Vista is going to be electric. And just the fact that, they're passing the ball more is also super exciting. I love that. And then after that, we got Legend. Legend, Simon, as you know, didn't have too much hype going into last year, but coming into this year, they got a lot of returning guys, key players, and I expect them to definitely finish top 10 by the end of the season. And then Chatfield, 5-7 last year, but it's one of those things where you have to factor in returning key contributors and the fact that they played some pretty tough games last year on top of that. So I like them at 10. But, with the 5-7 record last year, that might not make a ton of sense, but I think they're looking good, especially on offense.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, you got to project forward. There's a lot of teams in 5A that I feel like will be battling for that 10 spot there. So,
I agree.
It is what it is. And I know in 5A, I'm pretty sure if you make top 10, that is also a first round bye. I could be wrong, though. Maybe it's top 8. I need to check it again. But, that will be important moving forward, though. And so definitely get all that. Legacy, I like as well. I don't know. Maybe I just need to see them beat more of the top dogs just to move up. So that's kind of just where I'm at there. They definitely beat a lot of teams that we know that they're better than, but we'll just have to see if they could continue to win and, kind of swing up, right? So that's the biggest thing for me personally.
Yep, same here. Yeah, and, I'm like I said, I almost put Mountain Vista over Legacy, but I just got to go with my gut. I really think they're going to make some noise this year, even against the top talent. Like you said, they don't have the toughest schedule necessarily, but I think they compete well when they do play the tough teams.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we'll definitely see there. Mountain Vista, we definitely have, I feel like on the podcast, we have varying opinions on them. I think one thing that is undeniable is their offense. They're going to be great, probably top in the state, I would say. I think we could assume that there.
Yeah.
But, we'll just have to see about that defense that is kind of losing a lot. So definitely understand that there. And then Legend and Chatfield, yeah, I mean, totally get it. They're in positions to definitely move up here. But, at this point, they just kind of got to do it, right? So.
Yeah, that's right. And, Legend, they have youth on their side. They got some guys that are going to be juniors and seniors next year. So the experience, I think, is going to help them a lot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to 4A here. So in 4A, we got Broomfield number 1, Erie at 2, 3 Palmer Ridge, 4 Montrose, 5 Mesa Ridge, 6 Loveland, 7 Vista Ridge, 8 Dakota Ridge. There's a lot of ridges.
Yeah.
I mean, we've always known that. I'm just thinking about that right now, right? But anyways, 8 Dakota Ridge, 9 Ponderosa, and 10 Bear Creek here. All right, let's start with the 2 teams who made it to state, right? Broomfield and Loveland here. You have Broomfield at number 1, Loveland now here at 6, which, I mean, in my opinion, makes sense. It's not super outlandish, but go ahead and give us our thought process about those 2 squads there.
Yeah, man. So Broomfield, obviously they had the benefit of Cole LaCrue last year. Now he's at Wisconsin, but they just had, like, as far as this overall dominance goes, like, no one was touching them last year. They were beating pretty much everyone in their path by a large margin, and even like some teams in the top 5, like they were just smacking them. And they they have a lot of returning talent on top of that, so I just expect them to stick around. Like, you got Landon Davidson coming back, you got Michael Benner coming back, you got Brent Harris coming back. They're gonna be dominant on both sides of the ball. So on top of coming off of an undefeated state championship, yeah, they're gonna stay at 1 for a while until someone proves me wrong. And then, yeah, Loveland, I pushed them down to 6, and this really just boils down to the fact that they had a ton of seniors last year. Like, pretty much a lot of their guys were going to be graduated. So a lot of these guys that are going to be contributing a lot this year just are not going to be there next year. Like, their top 3 rushers were all seniors. QB is a senior, yeah, it's gonna be an uphill battle for them, and so I didn't really feel too comfortable putting them up any higher, like in the top 5. I think there's some other teams that project a little better than them, but yeah, hopefully they prove me wrong and have another strong season.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely see there. Loveland, I mean, that is a team that is losing a lot. I'm just going to say this here. I don't have them in my top 10, but I'm pretty sure everyone else in the podcast does. So there's that, which is fine, right? But, they're still in a position to rise here. I mean, they'll play some pretty tough teams here in the regular season and definitely in the playoffs if they make it that far. Or when they make it, I should say. I'm not going to be that disrespectful there. But, yeah. So yeah, definitely get that. Broomfield. I mean, honestly, I'm just going to kind of throw out this scenario here. Even if they do lose a couple games, say they are to tougher teams, unless it's against a team that's right below them here, like an Erie, Palmer Ridge, Montrose, I mean, they'll probably still be 1 unless someone really rises up here and takes their place, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like you said, even if one of these top dogs like Erie, Palmer Ridge, Montrose, like I need to see like a Bear Creek take them down. I need to see like just something that shows that they're taking a step back. But yeah, if one of these top guys, these established teams, beats them, then yeah, I don't really see them coming out of the 1 spot really, unless it's just a blowout. Then no.
Right. And I totally get that there. So it is really their season to lose here. Even with, I mean, we've talked about the changes at coaching and, some of the players they're losing, but I mean, they're that talented,
Absolutely. They as far as talent goes in 4A, they're Definitely the cream of the crop, no doubt.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the next three teams here. You know what? Let's do the next four teams after that. Erie, Palmer Ridge, Montrose, Mesa Ridge here. Some very familiar names, specifically, I'd say Erie, Palmer Ridge, and Montrose. I feel like those three teams have been in the semis, or have made up the semis basically the last 2 or 3 years at this point. But why don't you go ahead and talk about those squads there?
Yeah, so outside of what you just said, I'm really high on Erie this year. Just to highlight, they put up at least 30 points in every game after, or from October on, it was 30 points every game. And then multiple key players on their defense were underclassmen, like Jackson Cowgill, 11 sacks, which was top 15 in the state. He's going on his third year on varsity. He's going to be a beast next year. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Blake Barnett, he could have been the 4A Player of the Year, I think, if it wasn't for LaCrue being there. So I expect him to take a huge leap forward his senior year. He put up 2,400 yards passing, 26 TDs, and then 1,000 yards on the ground and 18 more TDs there. So just a beast. They're definitely going to be making some noise next year. And then Palmer Ridge, that's a team I'm looking forward to seeing. With me and Simon working down in the Springs, we see a lot of the middle schoolers that are going to be going there. And I really like what they have coming. But as far as this year goes, Derek Hester's coming back. Gabe Klein's returning. Klein put up 9 yards a carry in limited action, but I still think 9 yards a carry is pretty insane in 4A. Yeah, it's just a balanced offensive attack. They don't lean too heavy on either the run or the pass, so they can hit you with either one. It's tough to guard. Multiple shutouts last season, so that defense is just as good as the offense. And then their tackle leaders Holden Wright and Cooper Havnar are both returning. So yeah, Palmer Ridge is definitely going to be making some noise next year. I'm excited about. And then moving on to Montrose. Yeah, their QB's coming back. They run the ball a ton, but yeah, like Blake Griffin, he's second in the state in rush yards last year, put up over 2,000. He's definitely going to be a guy that can carry this offense and will take them to success. Yeah, it's like 26 TDs, 9 yards a carry, another two touchdowns receiving. And his backup graduated on top of that, so he'll get even more opportunities most likely. Yeah, I definitely expect Montrose to be a threat with Blake Griffin returning. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Definitely agreed with all those. We know what Blake Barnett has been doing over there. He, I want to say, is the only quarterback in the class of 2024 who will be entering his 4th year as the varsity starter, because he started as a freshman. And it's kind of ironic. I don't know if you know this, Gino, but Blake Barnett's first game was actually against Cody's team back when he coached in Greeley West as a freshman. Yeah, and he tore them apart, basically just running the football. So
that's insane,
that's
man.
Wild. Yeah, no, he's been a beast. We know what he's done. He's made it to state as a sophomore last year. Just kind of a tough go. Fumbled at the 1-yard line, which everyone knows about, against Broomfield there in a very close, 1-score loss. So, which I believe was in the semis. So they came up just a bit short of state there. So there's that. So, we'll just have to see what happens there. But yeah, we know about Blake Barnett though. We know he's going to do his thing. I think. We gotta get into narratives now, right? I think the biggest thing is just can he go ahead and go get it done, right, against the big boys and go win a state championship to kind of top off his career, which has been so successful. That's really the only thing he's missing, a ring, right?
100%. Yeah, you said it. He just that's all he needs to do. He's proved everything else. But getting that ring, getting that player of the year. That's the last things on the checklist, and I think a lot of things are going his way to make that happen for sure.
For sure. And then Palmer Ridge, I mean, we know about them. Great organization from top to bottom there, even going down to the middle school level. You know, they always have a ton of talent. Obviously, they are losing some guys, but, you know, we know with Palmer Ridge, that's not exactly the biggest concern. They always replenish well there. So,
yeah,
you know, not much to say there. And then Montrose, yeah, they're always tough. Run the ball, so you don't really expect them to pass it like that, even when they do. I mean, it's fine, you know, it's okay, but it's definitely predictable there. So we'll just have to see. But they'll definitely be tough, led by Blake Griffin. So yeah, no, agreed with all you had to say. Now, moving on here, we already talked about Loveland, so we'll skip over then. But let's talk about the ridges here. Mesa Ridge, Vista Ridge, Dakota Ridge, right there. Mesa at 5, Vista and Dakota at 7 and 8, respectively. Why don't you go ahead and talk about those teams there? Those squads have always been teams that have been in this conversation these last couple of years here in 4A. And going into this year, they are losing some players, but, well, mostly Vista Ridge and Dakota Ridge, but, you know, you still have them here in our top 10. In your top 10, that is.
Yes. So, yeah, like you said, Vista and Dakota are both losing a ton of guys, but that's why Mesa's above them. I love Mesa Ridge coming into this year. 8-4 last year, and they were young. Like, they were really young. So they got just tons of talent on both sides of the ball returning. So you really only expect it to go up. Yeah, you got QB Bryce Rail, Kyle?
Bryce Rail, yeah.
Right. And then Isaiah Jones, running back, outside linebacker. He on top of being the running back, he also put up 11 tackles for loss and 3 picks last year as a junior. So, I mean, he's going to be huge this coming season. And then Trevon Salas, sophomore running back, he's going to be great. Tanner Whitick, a wide receiver. That offense is going to be really nice. I expect them to at least be where they're at on my rankings, if not even higher. But moving on to Vista Ridge. Yeah, Vista Ridge, man, it's one of those things, like, they put up so many points. So I don't expect that to go anywhere, even with them losing so many guys. Like, they're losing Dorman QB, but Ben Noblet, he got some snaps last year, so, you know, he's not like he's going in with no experience. And then they got a sophomore running back in Nashawn Hall that got a good amount of snaps last year. I know they don't run the ball really like a ton at all. Like, they didn't have a guy with over 100 carries last year, but still, you know, it's something. So really, as far as Vista Ridge, like, their projection goes, I think it's just the fact that, like, coaching, I do trust the coaching at Vista Ridge. They managed to put together some really, really dynamic offenses. And, I just expect that to continue. And then Dakota Ridge, yeah, they struggled a bit last year record-wise, 6-6. And they were giving up a ton of points. They're also scoring a lot. Like, they're in that, like, they're in that Vista Ridge, like, not quite Vista Ridge level of scoring, but it's just one of those things where they can develop a dynamic offense, I think. You know, especially with Palladino returning 13 picks last year, but I expect that, 9 picks last year, but I expect that to go down. Yeah, we saw him at the 7v7s, and he was looking great. Yeah, I'm excited for the Ridges this year, for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Gotta agree with what you had to say about Mesa Ridge. They'll be really fun to watch. Their offense is just really great, honestly. They also got, their quarterback's a dual threat, so they got rushing threats all over, plus he could throw too, so that really helps them out there. Vista Ridge, Dakota Ridge, yeah, losing some pieces, but, you know, their coaching staff is really one of the strengths, if not their biggest strength, of both of those programs there, so they'll definitely figure it out with the players they do return there. So definitely agree that they'll be fine. We just kind of got to see if some other playmakers will step up or what will happen for them to move up here, because I think that will be key to them, moving up in these rankings. I know Vista Ridge plays Palmer Ridge at the very end of the season, so obviously that's an opportunity to move up there. And then Dakota Ridge plays Mesa Ridge pretty early on, too. That's a game that we definitely are hoping to go to there. So, boom, there you go. Now go ahead and talk about these last two teams, Ponderosa, Bear Creek. Kind of definitely in similar positions here. I guess the biggest difference is that Bear Creek has their quarterback coming back, but maybe their defense is not as good. Well, I don't think they're as good as Ponderosa's defense, who is top tier. Ponderosa, they obviously got pieces, but losing their quarterback, and now on their, I want to say this is their fourth straight different quarterback in 4 years. So, definitely a lot to talk about here, but why don't you go ahead and talk about Pondo and Bear Creek?
Yeah, so, Pondo, like you said, the defense is going to be like one of their big things. They're going to be losing Cape Olson, who put up a ton of tackles last year. But looking on offense, like Max Mervin, he got a decent, he had, I think it was 35 attempts last year, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. I think he can come in and make it so that they don't take too far of a step back on offense. He could be pretty nice. They're losing both their leading rushers. They got a guy in Sean Davis that's going to come up and maybe make some noise. But yeah, like you said, on defense for Pondo is going to be the big thing. Like Blake Branham is going to be big time coming into next year. Should be able to step up. But yeah, moving over to Bear Creek, they not a super. I wouldn't put them up there. I just think they're an exciting team, I should say. I think they got their QB returning. They got a dynamic enough offense to where they can definitely do some stuff next year. They lost to Ponderosa pretty horribly, so I'm not going to put them above Ponderosa. But I think that just they need to show that they're in the top tier of the teams. But right now, I got them at 10. For sure, yeah.
Agreed about Ponderosa. Bear Creek, yes, I definitely agree as well. They finished just outside my personal top 10, at least currently here. So we'll just have to see what happens with them. I mean, that's a team that, we know they have talent and whatnot. They just really need to put it together and start swinging upwards. I think that's it. We know that they're going to win multiple games here and be over 500. But, I think the key thing is just beating teams better than them or teams that are perceived to be better than them, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Pondo's one of those teams that's just got to take the next step. I think a lot of teams in Colorado are like that, where we have same teams a lot of the times in the state championships and the Final Four, and you just have those teams just outside that are one piece away or just can't quite get to the Final Four of the state championship. So I don't know. There's a lot of teams I think that really need to hammer down that football in Colorado isn't just like a 3-team thing. Like anyone can win it at any time.
Yeah, I like that. Well, with that being said, let's move to the 3A level where it truly is like that, where any team can win here. The last couple of seasons we've had multiple teams or multiple state championships where, the teams in those were not just the 1 and 2 seed, and I mean, we said this last year about 3A, the top 10 teams could realistically all win state, right? And then I would say the top 12, top 14 could all potentially get there still. So there you go. So 3A, there's a lot of parity here. But let's talk about your rankings. At number 1, we got Lutheran, 2, Roosevelt, 3, Green Mountain, 4, Durango, 5, Holy Family, 6, G-Dub, George Washington, 7, Resurrection Christian, 8, Frederick, 9, Thompson Valley, 10, Severance here. Let's start with the top two teams, Lutheran and Roosevelt. Both of them finally met in the state championship last season, where Roosevelt won their first one ever. Lutheran, I think that was their first appearance ever. And that was kind of just a tough game where Lutheran just couldn't get it done at the end, despite having a pretty solid lead in that first half there. But, why don't you go ahead and talk about Lutheran and Roosevelt here?
Yeah, man. So I think like Lutheran, like they're definitely one of my favorites. They got their first team All-State QB and wide receiver coming back, which is so rare to have that in any class. So I mean, like Joe Sissio, like first team All-State as a junior, 1,200 yards receiving, 15 touchdowns, insane. He was a state champ in the 100 meter in track, and then you have Reichen Daugard throwing to him. It's just a really exciting, just the fact you make it to the state championship, you get so close, but then your two main guys are going to be back. I think that's really exciting for Luther. That's why I got them at 1, and then moving on to Roosevelt. It's one of those things, man, where they could easily be number 1, especially after just winning. And Xavier Ramirez is coming back, who led the entire state in rush yards, put up over 2,100 yards. It's one of those things, especially after Roosevelt just beaten them. But they did lose Tucker Peterson, so it's one of those things that they could easily be number 1. But I just really like where Lutheran's going this year. But yeah, back to Roosevelt, like Bronco Hartson's coming back this year too. It's gonna be a really, really good team still. I don't expect Roosevelt to go anywhere. That's why they're at 2 and not somewhere lower.
Yeah, no, for sure, that definitely makes sense. I always say this, I'm biased about Lutheran, but I definitely get it. They're a very complete team here. Obviously, you have your stars in Reichen Daugard and Joe Ciccio coming back. That's huge. But then you also return a tough line, offense and defense. They platoon over there as well. So it's not just like guys playing both ways. So that's definitely huge there. So definitely get that. Roosevelt, agreed. I mean, they're not going anywhere. But it's kind of hard to replace, Tucker Peterson, who currently is the number 1, I guess, receiver in Colorado high school football history as far as career touchdowns go. Receiving touchdowns, that is, passing guys like Christian McCaffrey and more there. So, I mean, that's tough to replace. Plus, he, had a COVID year as well. So he did all that in basically 3.5 years. So that's definitely going to be tough there. Plus, he played defense. So a lot of guys to replace for Roosevelt, but I get them being up here as well. Now let's talk about a number of teams. I feel like really the rest of the teams from here on out are kind of at the same level here. I'll just list them off one more time. Green Mountain at 3, Durango, Holy Family, G-Dub, Rez, Frederick, Thompson Valley, Severance. You go ahead and just talk about all those teams kind of in bulk of their, things you like, why you have certain teams over other ones. I know, a lot of these teams, at least in my opinion, are in very similar spots here. And so really when it comes down to it, we're splitting hairs with a lot of these squads.
Yeah, for sure. I think, George Washington, I think I expect their offense to still be really good. And they had big time wins last year, and they had close games against good teams, especially going 10-2, 5-0 in league. I just think that projects really well going into the next season. They had a bad loss to the Far East Warriors, but they didn't lose again until that Durango game in the playoffs. So I do like George Washington. That's why they're that high. And then Severance. Some people might be a little surprised there, but really what that boils down to is the Hoffman brothers. I think Jeremiah Hoffman, he's got a lot of big looks from D1. I met the kid. He's really nice. I think he can put up just a massive junior season. He's a freak athlete. There's not a lot of guys in the state that are moving like him, I think, as far as agility goes and just pure speed and athleticism. So I think he's going to be a big-time impact player, and he'll have his brother throwing to him. So there's a solid chemistry there. I think they'll be able to make some noise. Yeah, Resurrection Christian, they had some big wins last year, and they played teams tough, and I like that. 2-3 in league, which which isn't great, but I mean, they put out a tough defense. They put up 20 against Roosevelt. They only lost by 15 when Roosevelt was beating most teams by a ton. Bad losses to Northridge and Thompson Valley, but Thompson Valley is another team that I think coming into this season is going to be really, really solid. They're going to have their QB Suarez returning, a few guys on defense. It's like you said earlier, a lot of these teams you could flip-flop like where they're at. It was really hard to rank, but yeah, that's some of my justifications.
Yeah, no, totally get that. Yeah, a lot of teams that are very close here. Sevens will be interesting for sure. Thompson Valley will be a big one. I know they do lose their head coach, but they're hiring from within, so I'm not really tripping over that, especially with the players they bring back there. And then Res will be an interesting one. I know their league record wasn't great either, but they definitely played in a tough league there, which I believe was Thompson Valley, Northridge, Roosevelt, which I want to say were all top 5 teams at the end of the regular season. Yeah, so
tough.
I don't know. What are you going to do there, right? So definitely get your justification here for 3A. Was there anything else you wanted to add on before we moved on here?
Durango, a hard time ranking Durango. I could have flip-flopped Durango or Green Mountain, but I just want to kind of give a shout out to Durango. I think they're still going to be a very, very, very competitive team this year, especially with Tyler Harms returning. Yeah, they were one of the tougher teams to rank. I almost put them at 3, but yeah, it really just came down to guys returning. He's losing all 4 of his top receivers, so we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair, though. Tyler Harms is one of the best quarterbacks in the state, so obviously you put a lot of faith in him, but, it's also hard to replace a center in Josh Bates, who, is at Oklahoma right now. So it is what it is, but we'll just have to see what happens for them moving forward here. Let's move on to 2A here. So 2A, is another one that I think is pretty wide open for the most part. I don't know if there is really a true front runner, but let me just give you a rankings here. We have Eden at 1, Delta at 2, 3 University, 4 Elizabeth, 5 Rifle, 6 Berthoud, 7 Montezuma Cortez, 8 Alamosa, 9 Basalt, and then 10 Woodland Park. Like I said, this one's pretty wide open in my opinion. But let's start at the top. Let's start with the first half here, right? Eden, Delta, University, Elizabeth, Rifle. Let's start with those 5. What are your thoughts on those squads here moving forward?
Yeah, so starting off with Delta, yeah, they're one of my favorite teams going into this season. They scored 3+ TDs in every game except the one against Eaton. They only allowed 20 or more points twice. They have, sorry if I don't get this right, Asai Carrillo.
That's right.
Okay, sweet. He's coming back for his senior season. Connor Workman, who was one of their main contributors on both offense and defense, he's graduating, but that'll free up more carries for Carrillo, so he'll be more of a impact player on offense. It's one of those things, man. I think Delta is just going to be, they dominate on both sides of the ball. So it's one of those things where they could easily, if everything goes right, I could definitely see them winning state. And then, they have Tucker Johnson returning on the line, both sides. Both of them, both him and Carrillo were first team All-State. And they only allowed 89 points the entire season. So I think, they say defense wins championships, and they got the talent on both sides. I think they could make some serious noise. Eaton coming off a state championship, and they do have some solid guys returning. That's why I got them at 1 over Delta. But, it was tough. It was tough. ranking those two. I think those are the two main guys. But like you said, it's close. Like even after them, like it gets close as far as who the next guys are. And then Elizabeth, solid season last year. I have them this high, like similarly with most teams, just because of returning talent. Like I think if with most teams, if you can return your main guys, then you're going to be fine. Yeah, like all their top rushers are coming back. Connolly, Stone, Randall, they're all going to be back. They don't run the ball a ton, pass the ball a ton, but when they do, their three main guys, receiving wise, are coming back as well. Defensive side of the ball, Connolly, he's playing on both sides. He led the team in tackles. Wes Snow, he was a sophomore last year. He was big time. He's going to be huge this year. I like Elizabeth a ton. And then Rifle, they 6-5 last year. Like not the best season last year, but again, it really boils down to how did you play against the top teams and who's coming back for the next season. And they got their QB coming back. They're we're getting down to 2A, so we're not passing the ball a ton, but their QB, he's a dual threat. Logan Gross, he's a dual threat. Led the team in rushing last year as well. So not going to be going too down on offense. And then, of course, you got Isaac Valencia coming back. He was a sophomore last year. He did a decent job. He didn't get a ton of carries or opportunities, but that should definitely change this year.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely agree with a lot what you had to say. I will amend what I said. Eden and Delta are definitely front runners there. Obviously, both lose a solid amount. That doesn't make them how should I say this? Like holding on to that 1 and 2 spot with an iron fist. I think that's fair to say. Eden last year, that squad, that was definitely a team that was going to hold on to that one spot no matter what, because they were so tough. They're just stacked everywhere. So understand that. Yeah, and then Delta, sure. They're really good as well. Like you said, just very well-rounded here. They also bring back Tyree at quarterback. So really, this is probably Delta's championship window right here. I don't think it closes right away next year, but it definitely, it gets a little bit smaller, right, as the years go on. This is a very talented squad. And then, University Elizabeth Rifle, agreed with all what you had to say there. Rifle, I think, is a really interesting team. Like you said, they don't really throw the ball, but they run it. And correct me if I'm wrong here, their quarterback is Logan Gross here, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And he's a pretty big dude, running the way he does and whatnot. He's huge, right?
Yeah, I'm a fan. He's a dual threat guy. And coming for another season. Having 1 year, an entire season of starting, and then having another year after that, it's huge. That experience, and then an entire off season to figure out some of those kinks. I expect good things from him and the team in general.
Yeah, no, for sure. And here in 2A, when it comes to quarterbacks, there's a lot of teams that don't have the most experience here, especially on this level, because I feel like last year's senior group of quarterbacks on the 2A level were just really seasoned and took up a lot of reps. So you'll be seeing a lot of new faces. So you kind of just take all the experience you can at that quarterback position. But with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about this back end here. 6, we got Berthoud. 7, Montezuma Cortez. 8, Alamosa. 9, Basalt. 10, Woodland Park. Go ahead and speak on those teams here a little bit.
Yeah, so I'll start out with Cortez, Montezuma Cortez. I just think they got 3 guys on defense that are coming back. They had a solid defense last year. Miles Frost and Tay Wheat, they were both All-State. And then Shioki Knapp, I was surprised he didn't make All-State because, he had 11 tackles for loss and 8 sacks as a sophomore. So those 3 guys coming back on defense, I think that projects really well for their next season. And then moving on to, Berthoud. Berthoud was a solid season last year. But for me, like, I think like they have enough returning talent to the point where they will have a top 10 finish. I don't know about top 5 or anything like that, but I'm comfortable with them having a top 10 finish. They had a sophomore QB last year. Not great passing stats, but you know, they're running the ball, and they have Alex Larson coming back, who led the team in rushing, put up over 1,000 yards. So it's, you know, I expect their offense to continue to be great. Yeah, and then moving on to Alamosa. Alamosa, you know, not a super like fantastic season last year, but they have some of the most returning talent in 2A. So I was a big fan of what they did, and then they had some tough wins too, and tough losses as well. 4-1 in league. You know, they lost to the Classical Academy, who was really good last year, 42-14. But I don't expect that to happen again, even close to that. You know, and then they lost to Delta in the playoffs, but Delta and Eaton were just running through everyone, it seemed like. So yeah, I like Alamosa a lot coming into next year. And then one of my sleeper teams for 2A, Woodland Park. I do like Woodland Park a lot. You know, when it comes to, like I said, if you guys haven't figured it out yet, returning talent, it's huge. It's huge. And you know, if you got like main guys coming back, then I think that just projects really well for you. You know, they had a really young team. Broker, junior QB, they didn't run the ball really at all. I mean, pass the ball really at all. But Broker, he's a dual threat QB, fits the system well. So that's gonna be nice. And then defensively, they were pretty solid. Broker, like he plays both sides of the ball. So I think once they lose him, then we're gonna start to talk about them not being as relevant. But you know, it's I think I like them for next year, especially for a top 10 finish.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I agree with what you had to say about Woodland Park here. They're a really tough team last season, I feel, and you know, I don't know. I guess you kind of just project them moving forward to improve and really take that next step here as a top 10 squad here. Maybe even make, you know, a top 8 seed here potentially, but we just have to see moving forward. And then, yeah, love Alamosa there. They do lose their quarterback, but, you know, Brand Jackson, RJ Mize, they'll be fine. And then Berthoud, I think, will be a pretty interesting team. They have 2 linebackers who are like 6'1", 6'2", 220, 230 pounds, both inside linebackers there. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's your entire defense, but that's a pretty significant chunk, and they were both really good. So they'll be tough. Yeah, for sure. And then Montezuma Cortez, I mean, they're in a very similar position as Berthoud. Good running back. Not just 2, but really good linebackers as well, but specifically on the edge. So, definitely agreed with all you had to say there. I feel like this is going to be pretty much, you know, roughly everyone else's rankings as well. Obviously, when people are listening to this, they'll already know, but I definitely agree with a lot here for sure. Was there anything else you wanted to add on?
No, that's it for 2A.
Say less. Let's go ahead and move to our last classification here, 1A football. Now, I am just going to say this for some of the listeners. Obviously, Gino, haven't seen a ton of 1A football yet, but you will this next season. Even then, though, for the most part, I mean, you kind of know who the big players are, right? And so at number 1, you have Lyman, the defending state champs, 2, Ray, 3, Strasburg, 4, Banning Lewis Academy, 5, Holyoke, 6, Rye, 7, Meeker, 8, Centauri, 9, Colorado Springs Christian, and 10, Estes Park. So, you know, definitely still close to, you know, myself, Gideon, Cody's rankings, I'm sure there. But let's go ahead and talk about the top 2 teams to start, since they were both in state and they are returning a lot in Lyman and Ray. Why don't you go ahead and talk about those top 2 first here?
Yeah, so obviously Lyman, they're gonna be. I don't see them ever like coming off that one spot, at least not in the foreseeable future. They always got the offensive line. They always got the big boys, the talent, and yeah, they're always gonna be there. They're gonna be dominating the all-state teams, and it's that's it. I think everyone's used to that by now, for sure.
Yes.
But as far as Ray goes, there's one particular player on Ray, Samuel Meisner, that I'm really excited about. Like you said, I have not watched it like really any 1A football. I'm learning, but a lot of these players' names are new to me. Samuel Meisner, his name definitely, like, I had to write him down. Led the team in tackles while also putting up 17 tackles for loss. Then he led the team in touchdowns on offense while being third in total yards. And then both the guys who had more yards than him last year, they're both gone, graduated. And yeah, he's gonna have the chance to lead like a great defense. Had 4 shutouts last year, while also officially getting the reins on offense for his last 2 years of high school. I think that just projects well for Ray, that they have a guy in Samuel Meisner that's going to be leading them for the next 3 years. Players are going to be able to look at him as an example of, or 2 years, sorry, as an example of what to expect, like what Ray football is all about. And 9-4 last year, but really, like, they beat some tough teams, and like, one of their losses was in Kansas. And then another 2 of them were to Lyman. They lost to Wiggins as well.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. Yeah, lost to Wiggins. But Wiggins is losing a lot of guys, so I'm not like too worried about that. I think Ray and Lyman are going to be the guys. They're going to be the 2 big teams next year. And then
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, absolutely agreed there. Lyman, we know how dominant they are. I mean, they really only be losing in state championships, and the last time they lost like that was a bit ago. So there you go. And then regular season wise, they didn't lose in the regular season last season, did they?
No.
Yeah. So that means they haven't lost in the regular season still since 2019, I'm pretty sure. So
insane.
Yeah,
but, hey,
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Ray did play him close though.
Oh
I
yeah,
think it was 13-7 in the regular season last year. So
yes,
they could do it. They could do it, man.
Oh yeah. And Ray played them close in the state championship too. The final score is a little deceiving. I know Ray kind of jumped out to a lead there, and then Lyman really kind of had to scrap their way back in there and had a really big third and fourth quarter. And so they just they just finished it, right? And so it's not like Ray is just like crazily outmatched here by Lyman. They're definitely a contender. I think those 2 are the top dogs for sure. Probably will be the 1 and 2 moving forward. But, let's talk about some of these other teams here, because I think there are a lot of squads that can't take that jump that Ray did last season. And so we have Strasburg at 3, Banning Lewis at 4 here, Holyoke at 5. Let's just start with those 3. I want to ask you about them. What's your thoughts on Strasburg, Banning Lewis, and Holyoke here?
Yeah, I like Strasburg a lot. They got Charlie Spriggs coming back, guard. He was all state last year. They got Thomas Devlin, who's a running back, middle linebacker, coming back. Then they got Austin Velasco coming back, wide receiver, linebacker. And they had a great year. They're losing Zach Marrero, who was he put up 9 yards a carry, 1,600 yards. So they're losing that, but they're keeping their quarterback. So I think Strasburg's gonna be great. They're gonna continue to be good. I don't like them over Ray necessarily, but yeah, I like Strasburg. And then Banning Lewis, one of my sleeper teams for sure. They're returning all 3 of their all-state players: Benton Early, tight end linebacker, lineman Julian Laderman, and then running back and linebacker Chase Riley.
Chase Real.
Yeah, Chase Real, he put up 1,100 yards on the ground and 20 total touchdowns. That was as a sophomore. Laterman, 22 and a half tackles for loss as a junior. And then you got lineman Kareem Fudge. He's also there, put up 13 and a half tackles for loss with 7.5 sacks as a junior. So they got the guys returning. They got their main guys, and I expect the younger guys to make a big leap too. That's why Banning Lewis is up that high. And then moving on to Holyoke. Yeah, this is a team I enjoyed looking into because their record is pretty deceiving at 4-6. You know, it's one of those things where you really gotta again, I'm still learning, but I think that record is pretty deceiving. They have a super tough schedule. They had to play Lyman, Wiggins, and Ray 3 straight weeks. And then Yuma right after that, which they won. But yeah, I mean, they barely lost to Mont Vista in the playoffs. So I really like Holyoke coming into next year. Of course, they got some returning guys. QB, they're actually a team that throws the ball a little bit. And Wyatt Sprague, I like Wyatt Sprague a lot. He runs the ball too. So you got the dual threat QB returning, all state guy. You know, it's one of those things, man. And you got all their receivers returning. Weber, Dirk, Sprague, Ozenstein, all those guys are coming back. So that offense should be great. And yeah, I'm really excited for Holyoke.
Yeah, no, definitely get that. Strasburg will always be fun to watch. They're kind of one of those programs that always, replenish talent well. And then obviously this season, I mean, they got their quarterback Landon Martin and Austin Velasco coming back here. By the way, check out that interview that I did with them that should have dropped, I believe, a couple weeks ago. So there you go there. Banning Lewis, like you said, I mean, they're going to be really fun. They basically return everyone from last season. So if we're going to talk about continuity, they probably have the best in the state, regardless of classification. They lose one senior. So, yeah, there you go there.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, they're a pretty new program. I think you know this. They've been around for, 4-ish years at this point. They haven't made the playoffs, but they've literally been 1 or 2 games outside of it. I mean, honestly, at this point, they just got to take that step forward. They got to go beat teams that are better than them. Can't be intimidated by teams that have historically always been ranked over them. And so I think right here at 4 is more than fair, in my opinion. So
sure. I think they got a big leap coming.
Oh, yeah. No, I think so as well. They could be maybe a little bit of a surprise team here. But we'll see. We'll see, right? And then at 5, Holyoke, yeah, you're absolutely right. Their record is deceiving. But they got a ton of talent. They got a ton of skill players. Maybe not the biggest team up front here, but in 1A, I mean, it still matters, right? Lyman, they had a whole line last year that was 6 foot, 250 plus. So that sucks. But, I think on this level, you could definitely get away with it a little bit more here. A lot of great skill players led by Wyatt Sprague. And, I mean, that Sprague family in general. I want to say his dad is one of the coaches, and he also has a brother on the team. A couple of years ago, he had another great, I think, an older brother who was really good. So they should be looking to bounce back here. So agree with all that, but let's talk about the last 5 here. Rye at 6, Meeker at 7, Colorado Springs Christian at 9, Estes Park here at 10. Why don't you go ahead and speak on those teams here as we wrap up this little segment here?
Yeah, so Rye, you look at their record. Why aren't they higher? But they had not the toughest schedule. They had a forfeit in there from Rocky Ford, and a really bad loss to Yuma in the playoffs. And but Yuma's losing some guy. I don't have Yuma in there. I don't think they're losing some guys, but I think I can't ignore an 8-2 record, and I think they got the guys returning too. You got Nolan Shower coming back.
I think it's Shower. I don't know either. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's Shower.
Okay, cool. Yeah, he not a ton of yards, but 12 touchdowns on 127 attempts. I think that's fantastic. So they're definitely running the ball at the right time. And then you got their leading back, Dylan Hearn, coming back. So I don't if they were 8-2 last year, I don't expect it to be much different. It's really just about beating the teams that you should beat. Like Salida, they probably should have had Salida, but yeah, that bad loss to Yuma too. But I don't know. I don't expect much different than an 8-2 record next year. I think they should be right around there again. Colorado Springs Christian, they had a solid season last year. I think so. Colorado Springs Christian, man, they had a really horrible loss to Lyman, but they had some good wins, like over Yuma, Banning Lewis, a tough loss to Mont Vista, but I think they are going to be in a competitive spot. And then moving on to Centauri, they had a great season last year, 5-0 in league, 8-3. It's a solid defense that has some guys returning. Yeah, it's hard. I'm having a hard time, because I'm still learning the 1A teams. But yeah, that's about the bulk of my knowledge, I think, for the next season.
No, you're all good, man. Yeah, I think that's definitely fair here. Rye, Meeker, Centauri, Colorado Springs Christian, Estes Park. I mean, Rye, I think, could definitely be a potential riser here. We just kind of got to see. I mean, you're right. They do need to beat the teams that we know that they're better than. I don't know why they lost to Yuma. I'm going to be honest with you. And I don't know how they lost to some of these other teams, but they're very well put together. Dylan Hearn, big 6'3" running back. He's huge for them. Their quarterback, Shower, I mean, you kind of just hope that he takes another step forward here because he will be like a 2, or I think this will be his 3rd year as a starter. So, there you go there. Plus their defense. So, yeah, Meeker, Centauri, I think are both in pretty similar. I know we'll be bringing back a very talented running back. We just got to see if he could stay healthy because I know it was a season-ending ACL injury that he went through, and he's kind of a smaller player in general, so we'll just have to see there. And then, yeah, Colorado Springs Christian, Estes Park, that seems about right there. Was there anything else you wanted to add on? I know, like you said, we will get you introduced to this thing. You're not as familiar, but, yeah, I mean, it is kind of what it is at this point.
No, that's it, man. Yeah, I think I got everything.
Yeah, no, fair enough. All right, well, this next part here, as we kind of approach the end, will kind of be our quick question round here. I got a couple questions. I'm going to ask you about each classification. Let's say it's like 3 different questions, right? And so you just go give your answer and then maybe a quick 1 to 2 sentence explanation if you want to. So there you go there. And, it's preseason, right? So this is kind of where there's a lot of speculation. We're looking at a lot of things on paper. We're definitely open to teams proving us wrong because at the end of the day, you got to prove it on the football field. But, it's fun to see where we're coming from here to start out. So what we're going to do, we're going to start on the 1A level, and then we're going to work our way up here. How does that sound?
That sounds great. Let's do it.
Okay, bet. All right, so in 1A here, if you had to pick right now, who is going to win state?
I'm going to shock some people here and go with Lyman High School.
Quick reason why.
Yeah, well, it really, man, it just comes down to nonstop dominance, man. Like you said, one or no regular season losses since 2019, something like that. They've just created a culture that sustains success, but also expects success. Like they expect their players to be good and do good, and a lot of that comes down to coaching and just an overall confidence that I think they have. I don't expect Lyman to be going anywhere anytime soon.
Fair enough. Okay, now sticking with 1A here. All right, sticking in 1A. If you had to pick one team to be the best dark horse or underdog team here in 1A, who would that be and why?
I'm gonna go with Banning Lewis.
I like it. a lot.
Yeah.
Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we talked about earlier is just the fact that one guy, they're losing one starter. They had 3 all-state players. All of them are coming back, and then you got guys like Kareem Fudge who play both sides of the ball. But I mean, putting up 13.5 tackles for loss and 7.5 sacks under the radar is pretty insane. Ben Early, tight end, led the team in receiving. Great on defense as well. Julian Laderman, beast on defense. And then you got Riley. I said Rail. Is that it?
Chase Real.
Chase Real. Okay.
You'll get it. Yeah, you'll get it.
Yeah.
No worries.
But 1,100 yards and 20 touchdowns as a sophomore, man. That's exciting. I really like Banning Lewis next year. Or this season, sorry.
No, yeah, you're right. Absolutely agreed there. We'll just keep this thing going here. All right, now if you had to pick, and I know this is tough, but you will have a vote in our end of the year awards here, obviously 1 through 5A. But who is your MVP pick if you had to pick right now here in the preseason?
You know, I struggled with this, man. I did. I'm gonna go with Logan Botcher from Lyman. He was the backup running back last year, but as a backup, he put up 15 touchdowns and 1,100 all-purpose yards as a backup. And, you know, the fact that Lyman's probably going to have the best line in 1A next year, and he's going to be running behind that. I'm going to have to project that he takes a huge step forward. Otherwise, I'm not too sure, but I like Logan Botcher.
No, I think that's a really good pick. I feel like maybe you haven't talked a lot about him. Gideon didn't talk too much about him either, but we know what he could do. You know, he's a great athlete over there. So I actually really like that pick as well. But let's go ahead and move on to the 2A level here. So in 2A, who do you have winning state?
2A, I'm gonna roll with Delta here. Roll with Delta. I think, you know, losing last year, but getting like 2 very important guys in Asai Carrillo and Tucker Johnson coming back. Their defense was so good last year, only giving up 89 points with 6 shutouts. I gotta go with Delta for 2A.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, talking about dark horse team, who's your dark horse team here in 2A?
Dark horse at 2A. Let's go with Montezuma Cortez. Cortez. Yeah. But you know, I highlighted these players before. These 3 guys on defense: Miles Frost, Tay Wheat, and Shioki Knapp. Those 3 guys. Miles Frost and Wheat both all-state. Knapp pretty under the radar. At least he didn't make all-state that I saw. But 11 tackles for loss, 8 sacks for him. Frost and Wheat were both dominant. Wheat on both sides of the ball as well. I think they can definitely shake things up. Maybe even make a Final Four to championship next year. I could see it.
You know what's interesting is that Gideon said the same thing. So
really?
Yeah. He also said Cortez. So I think it's warranted though. They're a good team. I know they kind of get forgotten because I don't know if you know this, but when they had to play Elizabeth, they had to travel 8 hours to go play.
8 hours.
Yeah, and Elizabeth is right between Castle Rock and Denver, just so you know.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. So but I like it though. That's I'm happy about that. All right. Now, last question here for 2A. Who is your MVP pick here?
2A MVP. You know what? Let's go with Cash Altschwager from Wellington. He's a running back, defensive back last year. In 8 games, 1,000 yards rushing, 418 yards receiving. He had 8 interceptions on defense and 12 total touchdowns. Just a Swiss Army knife player. It's only going to be his junior season next year too. I'm really excited to see what he puts up. Coming across his name was pretty cool.
Yes, I want to say he won it last year as a sophomore, but I think there's a really high chance that he could do it again though.
Did he? All right, there you go.
Yeah. No, he did. Yeah, no worries there. Because I know you weren't like with us back then, but yeah, he did win it. He was at least a finalist, right? But I mean, it's kind of hard to deny the production there. He is a special player, so I mean, unless another player just really sticks out, it's kind of just a hard sell, right?
Well, yeah, it's weird. Well, like Chassa, that's what I've been looking at. They had him as an honorable mention All-State. I was like, that's kind of odd.
Yeah, well, Chassa.
Yeah, man. I was like looking at those stats, like honorable mention, really? Okay. But Cash is I'm keeping an eye on him. He's gonna be good.
Yeah, no, he's definitely big time there. I don't know. Maybe the other reason why he wasn't like first team was because he was a part of a program in Wellington who was a first year program, but that doesn't.
Oh.
Yeah. So Wellington should be pretty good. But okay, cool. Let's get back to it though. Let's get back to it. So let's move on to 3A. 3A, who do you have winning state as of right now?
3A, talked about them earlier. Going with Lutheran. And yeah, this really just boils down to Doggard.
I think it's Doggard. He hasn't corrected us.
Doggard.
So
okay,
there you go.
Doggard and Sissio, both of them coming back. One of, if not the best offensive duo in the state. Definitely one of. These two are they just seem to have some sort of amazing connection. I'm worried about the run game. Again, like with those two's production, they're going to be extremely competitive and tough to beat. Especially having another off season together. Yeah, Lutheran's going to be nasty for sure.
That's interesting. You did bring up the run game because I also kind of worry about it too. In that offense, you kind of just assume that, it's a spread offense, and they do run a spread, and they're really fast to like 5 seconds or less to the line type beat there. And you kind of just assume that they'll figure it out. But, who knows? It's definitely something worth mentioning, though, I would say.
Yeah. And I mean, there could totally be a running back they got that I didn't see that could put up, 7 yards a carry or something like that. Who knows? They could definitely have it. But as far as those two go, I think they're going to take Lutheran very far.
Fair enough there. Who's your dark horse? I know there's a lot of picks here, but who's your dark horse team?
Dark horse? Let's go Holy Family. Holy Family here, yeah. Ryan Cooley's coming back. Had a great year last year. Angelo Odorizio, big guard coming back. And yeah, they got some guys coming back on defense too. It's just I think they're one of those teams that's going to be much better than they were last year. And who knows, maybe they'll take that leap. We were talking about 3A being pretty wide open. I think this could be their Holy Family season for sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that. That's a good pick, honestly. They've always been, like, historically good. But I think to really, like, put the fear in your opponents, you need to probably go to state or semis, which I think they're capable of. So we'll just have to see about that moving forward. Now, here in 3A, who's your early MVP pick?
Early MVP pick? This one was pretty easy for me. I got Xavier Ramirez, Roosevelt.
Oh, okay. I like it.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like so last year, obviously wasn't going to get it over Tucker Peterson. But you look at the stats, and you're just it blows you away. 2,100 yards as a junior, led the entire state. He's coming off of a dominant state championship run. It's going to be his 4th year on varsity. I could definitely see him taking the MVP home for sure in 3A.
That's fair. He's a tough player. Just looking at his film, he might be the best running back in Colorado. But yeah, we'll definitely have to see moving forward. But I think that's a really good pick there. All right, now moving on to 4A here. All right, so here in 4A, let's go ahead and go with who you are going to pick to win state here.
State, give me Erie High School. Okay, I'm going with Erie.
Ooh, okay, I like it.
And then so I mean, it's not like a crazy pick, man, because I mean, you look at Blake Barnett, like you said, it's gonna be his 4th year starting on varsity, but that's exactly it. He has that one thing left, is that state championship to really solidify himself, and I think there's gonna be a huge chip on his shoulder. He's got Jackson Cowgill on the line coming back. 11 sacks last year. This is going to be his 3rd year on varsity. Just a high-powered offense. After they put 30 points, they put up at least 30 every single game from October on. And multiple guys on defense were actually underclassmen. So, they're definitely not gonna skip a beat when it comes to next year. I definitely see them winning state.
I like that. That'll be an interesting narrative for sure, but definitely a doable one there. All right, now who's your favorite dark horse team here?
Dark horse, talked about him earlier. Mesa Ridge. I love Mesa Ridge. The offense is just really dynamic. They got 2 running backs, Isaiah Jones and Trevon Salas, that are both coming back, with Bryce Rail coming back. I might have pronounced that wrong. It's just Real. God. Bryce Real. He's coming back, man. He's only going to be a junior. Salas is going to be a sophomore. They're going to be really good, and that's not even mentioning on defense. They got a bunch of guys coming back from last year. 8-4 last year. I think that could easily be pushed up to like 9-10 wins this year. We'll see what happens, but I love them. And then Isaiah Jones, just want to highlight again on defense, 11 tackles for loss and 3 interceptions. So he's doing it on both sides. They got some playmakers for sure.
Fair enough. Who is your early MVP pick, man?
MVP, gonna go with Blake Barnett, man. I'm telling you, if it wasn't for Cole LaCrue getting 46 total TDs in a state championship last year, man, it could have really been Blake Barnett. He was still 1st team All-State. So I think as the clear QB1 in 4A, I think the award is his to lose. I really think so.
Honestly, I think that's fair. He hasn't won it yet, but maybe he won it 2 years ago. Dang, I need to go check back. I know he was a finalist 2 years ago. He was a finalist last year as well. He didn't win it then, though, because of Cole LaCrue. So there you go. But, I definitely agree with that. Now, moving on to 5A here, our last classification. Who do you have winning state?
I'm going Ralston Valley, man. I'm going Ralston
Valley.
Oh,
really?
Yes. Okay. Yes. So the thing I think brings them down, Ralston Valley, is their 3 losses last year. 2 to Valor, 1 to Creek. Those are the 2 big guys, though. Valor Creek. You know what I mean? Those are the 2 guys, and they lost to both of them.
They're still close.
And they were, very close. They had that Valor game in the playoffs where, you know, like literally, it could have gone either way. Double OT, you know, I think Roston Valley could have easily been there with Creek and put up a great game, but just the fact that their first team All State QB Logan Madden's coming back, you know, that's another big thing. We saw him play at Sevens. He's a good dude, great player. And yeah, the wins last year, 2 wins against Columbine. I mean, that's massive. I love seeing that. Brady Weldon, 7 yards of carry and limited action. He's going to be probably leading the way there. But yeah, I like Roston Valley for the state championship, 5A.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's a good answer because I think they could definitely do it. But you know, it's hard to see a team other than Valor or Cherry Creek up in there. You know.
Telling you, man. I think they're the ones. If anyone's gonna do it, they're the ones.
I like that. All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk about some dark horse teams here, or a dark horse team here. Who's your favorite?
My favorite. You know, I like Fountain Fort Carson. I like Fountain Fort Carson as a dark horse. Yeah, they. I think they could. Yeah, I'd see them taking a pretty big step this year. Last year they had big wins against Regis, Eagle Crest, and Doherty. They shut down Doherty, and Doherty's no joke. And then balanced offensive attack. You know, they don't lean too heavy on the run like most teams. Despite having Matthias Price, who, you know, he's coming back. He led the team in yards and carries, so they'll have him next year. And then on the other side, I talked about these guys before. Trevor Coleman, Anthony Johnson Griffin, both combined for 8 sacks. They're coming back. I think Fort Carson's going to be pretty surprising to some people next year, for sure.
No, I absolutely agree with that. We'll have a new quarterback, but I don't think they're going to lose much there. They have 2 really good choices, so I think it's just a matter of where those guys are when all is said and done, though. So there you go. But yeah. All right, now moving on to our last question here. Who is your 5A MVP pick?
So for 5A MVP, I'm going to go with Austin Madreski, junior QB. Yeah, you look at the stats, 35 total TDs. He was second in the state in pass yards as a sophomore. You know, that's like in Colorado, man, you gotta keep an eye on those guys. He's gonna be putting up the stats, no doubt. 12 picks. I mentioned it before. Those are gonna come down. I know it. They're gonna come down. So really, I think when it comes to Madruski, they need. It really comes down to how Mountain Vista does as a team. If they can scrape across 7, 8, 9 wins with him at the helm, I think that'll bode very well for MVP votes for sure.
Fair enough. Can't argue with that. He is the reigning MVP as well. Now I did say that was the last question, but I gotta ask you this, okay? So with Austin here, do you think he could throw for 50 touchdowns or more on this season? Is that possible, you think? Or do you think it will happen this season?
Man, 50 TDs. I would say 50 total TDs, but he's not much of a dual threat.
Yeah, he'll get you like 3 or 4 extra probably,
yeah,
which isn't it's not a slight on him when you have that many weapons.
Mm-hmm. But he'd have to be putting up like 45, 46 passing touchdowns. I don't see it this year, not this year. But his senior year, by the time he's had all that time starting, and he's going to be easily the best QB if he's not already there. Yeah, I could definitely see that happening at some point his senior year, 50 touchdowns.
Okay.
Pretty crazy.
No,
But
it is. It hasn't been done too many times. Braden Dorman did it Norway. I'm pretty sure he did it. He might have been really short, but I'm pretty sure he did it. No, sorry, he did. And then a Fairview quarterback from a couple of years ago had it as well.
all right, well,
You know,
Fairview. We know Fairview loves passing it, but Mount Vista does too, man. So if he puts it all together this year, man, 50 touchdowns is not out of the question at all.
okay, fair enough. I like it. Well, Gino, thank you so much for coming up to the podcast and having your own little episode. Hopefully, the fans get to know you here a little bit more, as they will when you travel the state. Well, Colorado Springs, Denver for the most part, and get to meet a lot of those fans and players. So thank you so much for coming on, man. And we're excited to have you for this next season.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's been really cool to talk about these guys. I'm just looking forward to getting to know more people, more players, seeing them play in person. It's going to be a great season. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, yeah, looking forward to this season. By the time this drops, it should be week 1, so technically opening night, I would say. Week 0 already happened. We should all be there at that week 0 Ralston Valley Mountain Vista game. So, I mean, I would say look out for us, but it already happened. So there you go. But, go ahead and make sure you show some love on social media at Playmakers Corner on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter /X now, I guess, which is so stupid. But, that's the world we live in. And then TikTok as well. Make sure you follow us for any updates, because we will be going to these games and we'll be announcing each week which games we will have somebody at in person for. And then, make sure you check out our social media as well for other season previews and interviews that have dropped, along with watch list stuff that should have been done by now. But still check those out just in case you're going out to a game and you want to see, who are some of the big-time players who might be popping up and showing out there. So there you go there. But I have been your host, Simon Villanos, a.k.a. Coach V, and, we'll see you later this season.